Wasn't
And
it
it
the
was really
freezing,
cool.
the ice?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's specific conditions where it freezes and there's high winds and the rocks slide on the ice. It's the racetrack in Death Valley, and getting there is pretty treacherous. I got 2 flat tires on the way, which is not ideal when you only have 1 spare. So that was a fun day in Death Valley National Park for me. Ended up in Vegas, getting a new car.
Oh, 2 flat tires.
It was a
Get
rental.
a new one.
Yeah, it was a rental. You can just trade those out.
I
No.
see.
And just to remind everyone at home, aside from all the walls we just saw and that rock that was full of life, some of this does look like a desert, not much living here, but if you were to kind of almost do an X-ray of everything that's underneath living in the sediment, it's massive biodiversity and a mass amount of weight of biomass of living things.
You're off.
Aaron, sediment zoom. Hold that.
Huh. It's down in the valleys. This stuff gets trapped.
Yeah, interesting. Almost
Yeah, but
marbling.
that's all bioturbation. Mostly bioturbation.
Yep.
A lot of holothurian activity.
It's so cool to hear what people are interested in and when they're following along and staying tuned with us. We've got a future animator with us who likes to watch deep sea feeds like ours to be inspired and about future references. And
That's really cool.
Well, wasn't Avatar, a lot of the forest was
yeah, absolutely.
deep sea inspired?
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's great to know
up there or something.
it's totally rad to have an ocean interest, whether or not that is actually your degree field. You know, other people interested in electronics and engineering, in technology, and becoming professional mariners like ship captains.
Cucumber.
Yep.
Yeah.
And a little whelk. Pull wide.
Are there any jobs on the ship that relate to electronics?
Yes.
Ha ha ha.
Team? Help us.
Yes.
There is a ship's electrician, so there are professional mariner tracks where you can study electronics and electrical systems on ships. There are also operational, you know, like robotic tracks that study electronics.
Rats.
Or that are you certainly benefit from a strong electronics background.
It's useful for the ROV too.
Oh yeah, computer science, data science, managing everything that we're creating.
Yeah, electrical engineering, lots of stuff.
Oh yeah. Big hearty, just like yes from all of us. All right, back row, time for your introductions.
Okay, I can start. Name is Chad King, and I am sitting in one of the scientist seats in the back row. Lead scientist on this cruise. It's my second time on the Nautilus. Oh, my colleague here was muted, so you didn't hear her joke.
I'll repeat, the scientist seat.
I work for Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary as a biologist, a research specialist. I've been with them for 17 years.
Wow.
I can't leave. I love my job. And let's see. Oh, hobby. Okay, there's probably not a lot of sports fans on this boat, but I actually do a podcast for the San Francisco Giants, and I get to
That's awesome.
to go up and cover games and go in the dugout and interview the players and all that stuff. So it's a lot of fun.
I'm a huge sports fan.
You are
That's awesome.
that Chad King?
Be quiet.
Yes, and he is a fanatic about the Giants.
Yes.
So if you want to know anything about history of Giants, San Francisco Giants, Chad King is the man.
That's awesome.
And the chat room just went dead.
Yeah.
Chad King from Third and King.
Represent.
Greg, you have high back over there. My plan is once we reach this point with the ship,
Chad,
I'm going to come up this way, so we'll be a long
Do you
slope.
have updates
and then,
coming up
after
on,
that, we'll
the tournament?
Jet down
We
over
actually
here.
had people writing in a little earlier.
On the
Nationals are in.
What was that?
Oh, I know the
Nationals are
Nationals
in,
were up
yes.
3-0, and so did they win today?
I don't know.
did.
They did, so they're in the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then we got the Astros and the Yankees. That's okay. I have no problem with the Nationals. They've never been there, even as the Expos
No,
prior
yeah,
to that.
I'm
so.
happy for him. I mean, I was most thrilled that Oral Hershiser, Clayton Kershaw threw back-to-back home runs and lost the last game. So we're not Dodgers fans.
Okay.
But don't be haters out there among
Don't
the
be
listeners.
haters.
Yeah, I was
Ooh.
like,
for smash.
I was like,
Right
that
in
is
the
a way
handle.
to stir up all of the
Yes,
viewers. Yeah.
yes, I was avoiding that, Dane.
I'm never one to shirk my responsibility of stirring up controversy. Well, I'll go next then. Dane Harden, I am sitting at the mapping table, but I have nothing to do with mapping. I am along to help the sanctuary characterize water quality at Davidson Seamount. So I am responsible for the equipment and the process of collecting large volume water samples and sediment samples for analysis of persistent organic pollutants. These are contaminants that are no longer widely used, but still persist in the environment and accumulate up food webs, achieving harmful concentrations in higher level predators in the ocean. I'm from Santa Cruz, and I guess my hobby would be growing vegetables.
Okay.
Yeah, I like to garden.
Do you have like a specialty? Do you feel like something always turns out great?
Well, I just grow lots of tomatoes, and it's pretty amazing in our climate because it's fairly cool, but I've found these varieties that just go nuts, and people from throughout the neighborhood come and pick tomatoes for themselves. So, yep.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, anyway, there you have it.
I remember a bumper crop of zucchini growing up in our yard, and my mom would make us go like doorbell ditch zucchinis on people's houses. Like we would go drop off zucchinis and then like ring the doorbell and run away because we were trying to get rid of so many of them.
Right.
Yeah.
I just grew a bunch of eggplant this year. It's the first time I've ever gotten them to produce for me, so I'm pretty happy about that.
Greg is off SPO doing a little like coaching of Paul right now, but he would be really excited to hear about that later. That's his favorite.
Okay. Eggplant is his favorite? Or
And gardening.
gardening. Awesome.
And specifically eggplant.
Okay. Wow.
All right.
I have to learn his secrets.
We've all known each other a long time. And some of us a short time. Amity, Jamie.
Yeah, I'll go next. We'll save the best for last.
There you go.
My name is Amity Wood. I work with Chad King at the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary. I'm the Education and Outreach Coordinator. And I guess my background is really started off in science for the most part. I went to University of California at Santa Cruz. Banana slugs.
Go slugs.
Go slugs. And I also did my master's in education at the University of San Francisco. So as you can tell, I'm putting my two passions together. So it's pretty great job I've got here. And let's see, a hobby. I guess in terms of a hobby, I'm a bit of more of a budding enthusiast here, but I do like to propagate succulents.
Oh, cool.
Ooh.
Cool.
Did you get the pun? Budding,
Yes. Budding.
propagate, budding, propagate. Yeah.
I'm pretty
It's a
good.
stretch.
You're getting rooted
Yeah.
in your avocation.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. Let's So, yeah, that's my hobby.
Succulents, cool.
It's very cool.
Not very good at it, but I'm definitely definitely trying.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are some amazingly colored succulents.
Oh yeah.
I mean, coppery and light blue-gray. It's just amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. They are very fun. Yet they're very difficult to. You have to try really hard to kill those guys. So,
which is really what I look for in a houseplant. I need houseplants that thrive on neglect with the amount that I travel.
Right.
Yeah, they're perfect for the traveler who occasionally remembers to water once or twice a month.
Yep.
So.
And then what happens is when I get home, then I like really want to love up all my plants, and then I usually end up smothering them with too much affection.
So we have a couple of these little heart-shaped terracotta bowls with succulents in them on our front porch. And they were looking great, nice and bushy, and some long branches on several of them. And I started really watering them. I don't know why. I thought they needed water. And they started dropping off all the little leaf things and I realized they do that when they get a lot of water, because then those things drop off and can repropagate. So
well, if the leaves are saturated, they will definitely fall off.
I see.
And they will not be able to be propagated.
Oh,
at
they
that
won't.
Point. No,
I
no,
see.
they get rotted out.
Okay.
That's what they say.
Okay.
They get rotted out, and so it's a fine balance.
Yep.
Succulents tend to only like sporadic amounts of water.
Okay.
They do like a lot of shade. They're very happy in shade.
Interesting.
Kind of depends on the succulent, but so water less often, but give them more shade.
Okay.
And see how that goes.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Masterclass right here on Nautilus
There
Live.
we go.
I love it. Last but not least, Jamie. Give us an introduction.
I'm Jamie. I'm in the data logger seat. I'm also the science manager on board. And I went to undergrad for biology and neuroscience. And then I worked in a neuroscience lab for 2 years. And then I decided that I wanted to do deep sea biology. So I went to graduate school in that and started with Nautilus as an intern during that time, and have now gotten my PhD and still come out with Nautilus because it's awesome.
Yep. Dr. Jamie.
Dr. Jamie.
Dr. Jamie.
And let me tell you, Jamie does an amazing job running the wet lab. When the samples come in, she and her team are on it and very thorough, meticulous, and professional.
Thank
She's
you.
a pro.
Yeah, it's great.
We love you, Jamie.
It's a tight ship around here.
Yeah.
She whistles and all of her team lines up like the Von Trapp family.
Yeah, it's pretty great. And then we all carry
Can we look at
the
that?
bio
We've been seeing a bunch of them.
samples
Those
inside in the little
dual-headed
buckets and
octocorals or
marching
something. I
rows.
don't know
That's
if they're
right.
octo.
That's right. Yep, it's like they are in control.
Well, it's fantastic to see that. And, Jamie, you're awesome. And everybody on the team really works. And I think people who succeed here on Nautilus thrive in an environment where they love teaching people things because they're brand new people on the ship all of the time.
Definitely, yeah.
And once you're like
it's great to work with diverse group of people.
There you go.
Every time I come out.
So this is my second cruise on Nautilus, and
there's another
I
one
have
of
to
these.
say
It's
that
like budding.
Yeah, there's like dual-headed.
I have to say that all the different
the genus
interns
on
who
that
come out
is
are great to talk to and great to
sounds
meet.
similar to
I
that
mean,
mushroom coral
it's
that
really
was
inspiring.
changed, but
do we have an ID on this?
I do think it's.
Oh, we saw one like that earlier. That's exactly what we saw.
A couple of those.
Yeah,
but
we've seen a few.
It looks like a two-headed
like
octocoral.
Yeah, like it's budding.
That's very strange. I haven't seen those before. I've seen them on this dive, but that was it.
Do you feel like I have an ID check?
Right here. Anthomastus
You're not
robustus.
very loud.
And do they grow in pairs like that?
Yeah, let's start talking.
Is it colonial?
Yep.
I like Paul how we're both trying to talk with our mics muted to each other.
Yeah, that's the updated guide, so you're probably right. The old one was Anthomastus, but just like the other mushroom coral, it was changed.
Yeah,
the
you're
genus was
right below,
changed.
so you're all right.
Gotcha.
So
Bathysylum?
are they colonial?
No, mushroom corals are solitary, usually.
But
Were
so
those
are
mushroom
were
corals?
those budding?
They didn't look like mushroom corals.
Yeah, it's it was the old genus.
Yeah.
Just like
Anthomastus
the
is the
big
old
mushroom
genus.
coral was
understand.
also Anthomastus too.
I understand.
Just
yeah.
different species name.
So it's not, what is the new name?
Yeah,
Not
likely. I'm
Anthomastus?
going to come around. It kind of
It
looks like we're still
is
swinging that way a little bit. So.
Bathyalcyon. Bathyalcyon.
Bathyalcyon. Awesome.
Bathyalcyon. It's an octocoral. So it's got those 8 tentacles.
Yes, yeah.
Right, yeah. I
That
just
one
haven't
was
seen 'em-
massive. I haven't seen one that big ever
I haven't
before.
seen one that has two like that. The two branches.
I
with
have seen the
single polyps
two,
like that.
but not clear.
Yeah.
Saw an orange one,
And
sampled one.
there's quite a few in this area, so I figured look at them while we could.
Yeah, I think Jamie left off her amazing hobby that she has.
Oh.
So I'm waiting.
Hanging out with their roommate.
Neglecting succulents.
Actually, a little bit, but I do like hanging out with my ship roommate. But when I'm not on the ship, I like collecting cephalopod-related things like plush animals or T-shirts.
Yeah, she has really cool T-shirts.
And I also like collecting children's books about the deep sea.
Ooh,
Because
cool.
there's
Oh,
some
that's
cool
really
ones
cool.
out there, and
Yeah.
it's fun to see.
There is a child book about the deep sea that actually has Nicole in it that I found on
way.
Amazon.
What? That's so cool.
What's it called?
Yeah. I'll have to look it up.
Okay.
So, Jamie, can you suggest authors?
Not offhand, but
Okay.
if I had my bookshelf in front of me,
Yeah.
I could give you a plethora of options.
Okay.
I believe there's also a children's book based on Ropos.
Mm-hmm.
Based
Soto?
on who?
Ropos is a
A Canadian ROV
Canadian.
system.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's like Ropos in the volcano or something like that. I forget what it is.
What's Nicole doing in the book?
She's interviewed in the book about becoming a ocean explorer.
That's
an
so
ocean
cool.
scientist.
So awesome. Love it.
Yeah, remind me after watching. I'll look it up.
That would be great. I can suggest it to my mom's library
Mm-hmm.
at her school.
Looks
Yeah,
like
it's
a
one of
picnic
the
donut
super
down there.
cool-
Argus is going
Is it?
to start to feel that pull to
Yeah, I'm starting to-
055.
No, it's a percingid, sorry.
Starting to head that way.
Super cool
so
part
just
of our
keep that
job.
I
where
is-
you'll
saw
be-
8 layers.
Yeah,
You'll
so
be
for a
going
little
that
bit-
way a bit in there.
For a little bit, you just have to kind of keep centered in Argus.
Yeah, and then it'll
Yep,
It'll
watch
become
your
easier.
shadow, right? That's why bubble on the
Percingid,
front
percingid.
porch is so important. It makes a lot more sense once you're sitting in Hercus to.
Awesome. So thanks everyone for the questions and comments coming in. This is the final 2019 dive of this expedition season. We anticipate this dive being about 30 hours long, and it just launched about 8 hours ago. So lots more exploration yet to come, but we are in that chapter, we're wrapping it up a little bit. So it's fun to have your questions and comments as we trek along the seafloor. This is an area of pure exploration. We are near Davidson Seamount, but sort of on a sloping flank, looking at an interesting feature. We found some sort of clay, not sedimentary rock in the way that many people would think about that as being kind of a a beachy type of rock, but just a compacted sediments and compacted clay cliffs here, along with this smooth sloping, higher on the left, lower on the right landscape we're checking out. There's been a few fish that are Pacific grenadiers, and we've seen anemones and
So
urchins,
since I'm
sea
sliding
pigs,
this
all
way, we
kinds of
want
stuff
to
here.
drive back over across in front.
check out our team profiles. They're underneath the question feed. You can click on the individual headshots, and that'll take you the bio of each person here on the team, where they've answered questions like what advice they'd give to someone who wants a career like theirs, and what types of different jobs they've had along the way to working here with Nautilus. You can also, I have to give a big plug, one of our big projects for the year was working on our career videos. So if you click on that team page, you can also land on a page, an ROV pilot page, or a navigator, or a seafloor mapper, video engineer, watch leader, you know, expedition leader, scientist, all these different videos about the different types of roles, data logger, that show you a little more kind of behind the scenes of what it's like within each of those jobs here on Nautilus. So that's a brand new section of the website this year. Our very own Dr. Jamie features prominently in several of those videos. So
Dr. Jamie.
Dr. Jamie.
Ask
Master
Dr.
Renato is also in some.
Big sea star.
I don't know if that's really what they say for that title. Yeah, that's a big sea star.
Master of none.
Yeah, Master of nothing.
Slime star. Let's go look.
Alright, yeah, drive down a little bit.
Yeah, you can see in Argus how far up you are in relation to the sea star.
Which just means the sea star is even bigger.
Yeah, it's probably 10 inches across.
Also, thanks to the people who are writing in, they want to apply for our programs for next year. Absolutely do it. Our Science Communication Fellowship brings artists, writers, classroom educators, informal educators out to sea, to sit in the seat that I'm sitting in right now. And our
there's
internship
always
program
currents.
brings you out to be a video engineering intern, ROV engineering intern, seafloor mapping intern, ocean science intern, or if you happen to be listening to us from the Naval Academy or Coast Guard Academy, a navigation intern. All those are paid programs, paid to come out and be part of our team, which is kind of the best deal ever. So I've never knocked on anyone's door and just cold called them and asked if they wanted to join our team. You get onto our team by putting yourself out there and submitting an application for these open opportunities, and they're open right now. So jump to it.
Might tweak your
And like Greg was saying, a lot of us here started as interns on the Nautilus, so we can all highly recommend the internship program.
Yeah.
Right, and I started in this industry as an intern,
Mm-hmm.
as a maid intern. So there's a couple of different internship programs for going to sea, and I never would have known they existed except that a friend sent me an email and said, hey, you know, all the marine biologists were told to apply for this internship, but it seems more like computer science-y, and it was to be an IT person on a boat, so information technologies, and that was a number of years ago.
That's really cool. I was a science communication fellow. We called it a different thing then.
Yeah,
It was
educator.
the Educator at Sea program, but that's how I got on the ship.
I didn't realize you started as an educator and then
Yep, and then
transitioned.
and then back as a lead. I was not a educator in my like real-time life, you know. I was working in conservation writing and doing a variety of different things at that point. But yes, I came in as an educator at sea, came back as a lead. Eventually there was a staff position.
So is that 2013 your first year?
13. Same year as Rennie and Jamie.
Right, so many things to think about.
This is Paul's first time flying, and he's doing a great job.
I was going to say, I was like, let's not startle him. Don't look now. But Paul is flying Hercules, and it's awesome. Don't look now, but everybody look right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much standard, you know.
So
Don't look now, but everybody just starts turning.
we should be a long contour for this this stretch of 055. So you shouldn't have to worry about any real obstacles or even going downslope or upslope. Just kind of a slight slant there like that the whole time. But we will look out for them regardless, and I'll let you know if we see any.
And then the other thing is that you can have your camera off at an angle, right? And so you think you're flying straight. Yeah, there you go. And then if you tilt it up just a little bit. Yeah, there we go. A nice clean view.
All right, Chad, can you answer the question? Are we looking for anything particular on this expedition?
Yes, indeed. We are looking for corals and sponges. This looked like a potential area based on the remotely sensed
Look at that.
sound data that there were going to be a lot of rocks, or could be, I should say, some hard substrate here, but there's actually a lot of steep, soft cliffs and sedimentary rocks. So what we're seeing now is a
So
biota,
speed up
a
your
community dominated
ability
by
to
soft
change your
sediment
heading.
animals. But
So now you can go 10
we don't
degrees.
often go out in the soft sediment, so this
per
is actually
second
really good. We're seeing
instead
animals
of
that
5.
we've rarely seen before. A couple we haven't seen near to the size
I
we
like to
have.
fly at
So this is a
15,
really
but
good way to
A lot
get
of people tell me I'm crazy.
refreshed imagery and oh my gosh, we have an octopus.
Octopus.
Okay.
So I would just kind of sit down
Just
in
when we
front
were
of it.
Just when
going
we
forward.
thought we were done with
Wow.
octopus.
Wow.
Keep going
Hello.
forward, keep
Now, of
going
course, I'm
forward.
not expecting
Wait
this is
until
going to be
it's underneath the
associated with any
lasers, really.
cold seeps or
Warm
low
seep.
temperature seeps, but you never know. I would like to take a look at this one. It does look like moose octopus, the species we were seeing yesterday.
Yeah, keep flying forward.
And we're going to look at potentially
Yeah.
its third
Yeah,
arm.
so hold there. And as you
He's
settle
got it
down.
rolled up.
It is a male.
Hello, sir.
Yes, it is.
Oh, you can see it right there.
Yes.
How are you telling, Chad?
Well, that's private information. The third arm, which you can see right there below its mantle,
Yeah,
it's a
sometimes you
little
just
curled
gotta
up.
let
It
go
looks
a
like
little
it has a
bit.
little
Can you turn
different
lasers off for a
tip
minute?
to the
Yeah.
arm there. That is a heterocotylus, and it's an appendage that they use to pass a sperm packet into the mantle cavity of a female
Nice job.
to fertilize her eggs. So that is their main mission in life.
Yeah, it's pretty
Probably
much
you
on
can look
bottom. And
at,
you can
So
always
after
push
the
down a
males
little bit just to make sure that
reproduce,
you're not going to
they
move too much,
senesce
right?
and die. And after the females hatch their eggs, they also senesce and die. It's a very committed life for the octopus.
Huh.
So I have a
Look at
little
that slow
down.
rotate coming right at us. It's a beautiful shot. Nice work, Aaron.
It does look like there's a couple of sucker
I'm going to
marks
let you
on
take this.
the webbing
I'm
between
pushing
its
just
arms.
a little bit. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, right. Scars of battle.
Do we know anything about, do males compete for
I don't.
females, or
I-
do you think it's sort of like,
You're
Uh,
right
if you
below.
can find one?
Okay for a while. Yeah,
I'd
you're
say
right
it
below.
could be from males or could be
Delta's
a
at
female
30, so
rejecting
we're okay.
him. Who knows?
Wow, what a beautiful animal.
So this is the first octopus we've encountered in, I don't know, we're into 7 or 8 hours of this dive. While as yesterday, we saw well over 1,000. But again, that nursery that we've established that is reproductively viable could be, in theory, reseeding the population of this species in the immediately surrounding area and beyond. So who knows, maybe this guy was born at the octopus garden.
Hmm.
And like a salmon, he's heading back.
He's heading back very slowly.
Good job, Paul.
All right, time to get moving. So
Great shots.
Yeah.
Hello.
He's like, no,
What a
no,
bomb.
no.
There's a grenadier
Look at me, I'm
coming.
prettier.
Yep. The Cuskills.
why
Those
that was
are,
good, right? Just
grenadiers,
kinda
actually.
float
Or
up a little
grenadier,
bit.
you're
Yeah.
right.
Grenadier.
Mhm.
Grab a beer.
He's like, look at me, look
Yeah.
at me.
And
There you go.
then gun it forward and
Very good.
straighten out your camera.
Wow, that was awesome.
You might want to come to like 040 to get back out underneath Argus.
But yeah, getting back to the dive plan, we're expected to dive for at least
And then
another
I would just gun
20 hours or so. Hopefully
All
it's
the
enough
beams.
time for us to get to some that we know are
some line
hard
on the floor there.
return targets.
Yeah.
And so we're
It's
going to do our
okay.
best to do
It's all
just
beneath
that.
us, so
But
let's just
along
keep
the
going.
way, we've already
Wow, what is that
run
long?
into some very
There's a
unexpected
line.
geology
Line.
Trash.
and biology. So that's what's fun about exploration. You never know what you're going to get. Oh, wait, that's a line from a movie.
Valid,
Altitude
though.
in the front porch, because you can always take a sample, as we call it, at the front porch.
Once
Scoop
you're
sample?
dead center under 6, actually Argus is facing 90. We want to go 55, and then
I'll bring it over to 55.
Yeah.
You should probably get a different Argus pilot.
So because he's going to be changing heading, you're going to, yeah, there you go, something like that.
Could
No,
we
you
look
just-
up a bit?
You got it in Argus view there.
Nice.
And just try to get to the end there. That way you'll have a little bit of, if we see something, you'll have some play where we can stop. Being at the end of your tether is always a good idea, otherwise we have
That's
limited.
more line. So we're starting to see some
Trash.
trash.
Looks like fishing trash. Got some reflection in the
Yeah.
HD. I wonder
That's why it's a good reason. Shows why we always tape, we black tape all the white stuff, all the shiny things. So
Yeah. Could be downlight is blowing it up, well, unless we have porch on.
We might have porch on, but we also have those.
Porch got rid of a lot of it.
Yeah,
The
Still a bit
reflective
though. Yeah.
we have
sampling
the
stuff.
highly reflected squeezy samples.
Yeah, that's
Squeeze
definitely doing
samples.
it. There you go. So now you're kind of towards the end of your leash. We're all
And
going in
then
the right
you
direction.
Kind of poke around to see if there's something to zoom in on. Zoom in on it, catch up, repeat.
Yep. That's the name of the game.
This is how we zoom around.
Chad, it looks like we're covering pretty good amount of ground. I'll do a quick measurement of how far we've covered so far.
Hey, Amity, or anybody who's interested in talking about this. Question coming in about, I guess, what are some of the balances between, working in the ocean and ocean conservation? So sort of what can people do, to balance out their impact? People are always interested about the impacts of us being down here doing exploration and, how do we minimize that? I guess kind of how from the sanctuary perspective, where you have a mandate to protect and manage this area, how do you think about the balance between conserving these ocean resources and exploring them?
Yeah, that's always definitely the question, because it's kind of a different perspective
Upside down fish.
on what conservation is, what exploration, why it's important that we explore the ocean and understand more, so that we can learn more to better protect the area. So I do feel like there's just a lot of areas of the ocean that are unexplored that we need to learn more about in order to understand what our impacts are to the ocean. If we don't have enough data collected, or we don't have enough information about biodiversity in the ocean, it's hard for us to really understand what our impacts to the ocean environment and what some of those changes over time are.
All right, so you're up and over the fish.
I feel like there's a balance that we try and strike with the research and the science that we do with the sanctuary, balancing that out with making sure that we're practicing sustainability when it comes to a lot of the work that we do. Obviously, conservation is a big part through education, outreach, but also I think having the knowledge about kind of what's in our sanctuary, what's needs protection, what are some species that are doing well, what are some species that are impacted, by human activities, whether it be our everyday choices that we make with the types of transportation that we choose, the type of products that we choose to purchase and put into our environment. And so it's important to document these changes so that we can really understand them and have greater changes to our own personal behaviors. So with the sanctuary program, you know, it is important to conserve, it's important to protect, but it's just as important to understand the need for that protection. And so science is a big part of what we do, but because this is America's public underwater lands, we want to make sure that the public is aware, and education and outreach is a way in which we do that. So this opportunity here to bring the public into science and research is a great opportunity to educate the public, becoming more aware of our deep sea environments, the impacts that we've seen in the last couple of days just here on the dives in terms of, you know, evidence of humans down in this deep
His mic's on, assistant.
environment. We have definitely seen that we've
Yeah, you might be able to
have
turn
some
him up.
impacts, and there's also impacts that we still have yet to see. So these are all important things that we need to understand a little bit more so that we know how we can better conserve and protect the area.
And in terms of this type of activity, it's hard to imagine. I mean, if I were writing an environmental impact report, it's hard to say there would be any direct impact on the resources by this operation. I mean, maybe the light, but that's, nobody knows, and we don't see animals curling up and running away. It's hard to imagine that there is a direct impact from these activities.
Oh,
Yeah, a lot of people think the sanctuary puts a bubble around all of this water and you can't do anything in the sanctuary. Or some people think the sanctuary regulates fishing. None of those are true. We do have specific prohibitions that are written into our code, and one of them is disturbance of the seafloor. You can't disturb the seafloor. However, there are exceptions to that, and one of them is a research permit. So researchers do apply for a scientific permit through the permit coordinator, and there's a whole process, online process. And so sometimes me being on the science team are called in to review these permits and say, hey, is this science essentially a net positive? If any disturbance to the seafloor happens or any other kind of impact to the sanctuary happens, is the amount of information or data or knowledge gained worth it in the long run? So, and we do approve most scientific permits. Most of them are good. So, and we do not regulate fishing whatsoever. That has to do with National Marine Fisheries Service, and the state of California regulates fishing within 3 nautical miles. So it's a complex bureaucratic system between all of these agencies, both federal and state, and even local too, as Dane knows very, very well. So sometimes it's hard for the public to understand what we do. I don't even fully understand what all the other agencies do, but we are all trying to work together to protect and understand these resources.
So this question actually just came in, and it sounds like a great hypothetical, but I want to know who wrote this. So if someone were to develop their own submarine, and they would want to come exploring in the National Marine Sanctuary, if they weren't planning to touch the seafloor, like if you were coming to just fly around and weren't going to have any seafloor impacts, would you still need a research permit?
You know what? It's funny. By the letter of
from my private mega empire of
that's
submarines,
right. So here's the answer. The short answer is yes.
Okay.
And the reason is there's also no discharge allowed in the sanctuary. Now most people think of that as trash or gray water or something dumped over the side. But anything that you put into the sanctuary, aside from a boat, if you discharge an unattached AUV or a submarine, there's no guarantee you're getting that back, right? So technically you have to have a permit for that. I know it sounds a little silly, but that is kind of the letter of the law. Now, for this operation, they did need a permit as well because there is bottom contact from the vehicle. It's not because the vehicle's discharged, because it's attached to a cable, so technically it's not a discharge. Yeah. I know that's really exciting stuff.
Also, if you're in the US EEZ, you need permission from the Navy.
Yeah.
Anytime you're deploying submarines
And
or ROVs.
not only permission, but I would be certain that the Coast Guard would not let you go in the water without certifying that the vessel was safe.
Right. Yeah, even if it's not human occupied.
All these rules,
Navy, there's a
man.
lot of Navy submarines, and you know, could be anywhere really.
Yep.
But you
Yep.
have to let them know you don't want a collision.
Yeah. All right, rapid fire around the room. We've got viewers tuning in from around the world, and they want to know how many, if anybody speaks other languages other than English. Bilingual, trilingual people in the van?
Ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch
All right.
und я говорю немного русский.
Ooh.
He speaks a little bit of Russian.
There's a lot more bilingual folks on board the ship. I just don't know that we have them on our watch team. I took 5 years of Latin, which, you know.
We were
We all
talking
make
about
choices.
how there was one watch that there were more aircraft pilots than not.
That's amazing.
On the watch. It tends to be something that people pick up as a hobby. And
Well,
There were more
maybe
what?
that's
aircraft
generational.
pilots than not.
Yeah.
Now it's becoming rock climbers.
It's true. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to now move the ship's bearing soon. We're going to go to 100.
I got a shout
Just
out
a
from
moment.
Emily Amity from the SEC, and they're looking
Oh,
forward
hey
to
guys.
hosting Bayview 4th graders tomorrow.
Oh, that's
Chat
going to be
with them.
so fun. I'm so excited.
What are
Good
they
stuff.
doing?
We have a live ship-to-shore interaction
Ah, yeah.
with some 4th graders
All
tomorrow.
right.
Oh, that's
Emily, you
great.
can let the kids know that their cups have been shrunk. So we're very excited about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're quite a bit far behind, so I'll let you know when you should start to feel that 100. And then we'll be going a little bit downslope at first, a little bit along contour, and then there'll be a very steep downslope, so we may switch over at that point. And then
Yeah, while we're reading
but
here,
for
I
now, stay at 5.5.
do want to give a shout out to the Sanctuary Exploration Center staff. They do an amazing job. We have a visitor center in Santa Cruz, California. If anyone is in the area and wants to learn more about Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary and other marine sanctuaries along the West Coast and across the nation. It's a fantastic visitor center. It was opened in 2012 and does wonderful education programs and community events as well. We do First Friday art shows. So there's all sorts of great events. It's a free visitor center, which you don't get very often. And it's just a great facility to conduct outreach and education, but really just to learn more about Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary.
And it's really close to the beach boardwalk
Yeah,
and the
you could
Santa
spend the
Cruz
day down
Wharf.
there.
Yep, absolutely.
Absolutely. What better way?
Yep.
Go down and enjoy your sanctuary right
Yep,
there.
Yep.
That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
it's got a wonderful, wonderful location down on the down the beach area in Santa Cruz. It's open Wednesday through Sunday.
Awesome. So a follow-up question, Chad, to your permitting conversation. People are wondering, why is there a concern about touching the seafloor? So it's sort of like floor is lava. Like,
a good way to put it. No, it's just alteration of the seafloor. So it even, and I know some people think it sounds ridiculous, but it's hard because there's a lot of gray area, and so you can't really draw a line. So the best way to do it is to draw a line at the bare minimum of disturbance, and that includes, let's say a graduate student wants to go put in sand anchors into the sediment. You think, putting a large screw into sand is not really hurting anything, and it may not actually be hurting anything, but we want to know about it, and we're going to approve that. So it's a fairly simple process, and I don't think people have to be upset about it, but I know some people go on the superlatives of, well, if I go scuba diving and I scoop up a pile of sand with my hand, isn't that the same thing? Do I need a permit for that? Well, no, of course not. We're not going to be regulating, sporting activities such as that, but we do want to know about the research and any major impacts. But you also can't discharge in the sanctuary. We have cruise ships that come in and visit all the time, and it looks like we have a lot of trash coming up here.
Yeah.
hey,
Cans.
take a look. They're all trapped right here in this itty bitty little depression.
So most likely this was in a container once again, some sort of bag or...
Wow.
Can we zoom in?
There you go. Tin cans.
Tin cans.
So here's an
of
example
all
of
sizes.
discharge.
Absolutely.
And an aluminum can up top.
Oh my gosh.
So for being out in the middle of nowhere, we've already come across quite a bit of metallic.
Yeah, wow.
Another debris, so yeah, it did.
Human impacts, yeah.
Human impacts even way out here at 2 miles deep. But yeah, the sanctuary does regulate those things, but it's not overly burdensome. If you're a researcher or student, and just apply and we'll approve you and everything will be great.
It's also a great way to keep track of how these, this is
That was a good one.
like America's blue backyard, right? This is,
The octopus was good. You did well with that, Paul.
understanding just what are the different uses and being able to keep track of that. How people are interested in learning more and utilizing their oceans. The permitting processes create a paper trail so you can keep track of that type of use.
Is that a picnic onid?
No, earlier I thought it was.
Rennie, I feel like you have like a real love-hate with this. You're like, got like laser vision for it.
Picnagonid.
Yeah.
Not picnagonad.
Oh, picnic gonid.
Picnic gonid.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
Picnagonid.
Picnic gone.
Deep sea gigantism. Picnic bye-bye. Picnic gone.
Got those long legs to walk on the seafloor.
It's chasing you, Rennie, run.
Better to sneak up on you with.
So, Chad, the prohibition against disturbing the seabed, I think, was primarily
For dredging.
Dredging and bottom trawling.
Yes.
Trawl fishing.
Yeah. But trawling is still permitted, so we don't regulate fisheries.
Can we get the jewelry out
It's
of
still
the
permitted, and that's all regulated by
out of the frame?
the
Okay.
PFMC. That's not us.
Can you get the jewelry
We
out of the
can't-
frame?
we
I know it's
can't
killing
prohibit
Aaron.
Is it like flatfish trawling?
Thanks, Ernie.
Yeah.
Wow.
The only thing we've prohibited of bottom contact gear related to fishing is actually here at Davison Seamount.
Okay.
There's no fishing below 3,000 feet, but yeah, 3,000 feet.
Okay.
Because the summit of the seamount is at 4,000 feet below the surface. We wanted to protect the corals. That is the only technical fishing activity that we regulate. But within the main sanctuary, we don't at all.
Okay.
Yeah, fly ahead a bit.
Right, a couple questions. Is this the last dive because the length of time transit to port, and how do we schedule our expedition season? So this season is actually the same length as last year. It just started earlier. So we launched this expedition on May 10th this year, which is an amazingly long time ago in some ways. And we've been broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week since then.
Worst.
This expedition is the last one just because of the way coordinating with partners and creating an expedition schedule. Worked out that way. A couple things are constraining, back to speaking specifically within this expedition, a couple things are constraining us, the amount of sea days, and the final port is Los Angeles, so we do have a bit of a transit to get there. Also, we have some weather coming up, not tonight, but anticipating that weather tomorrow night. And so we're keeping an eye on that and being responsive as to what time we need to leave the seafloor here at 3,000 meters to make sure that we can get all of the ROVs safely back up on deck and be prepared for that weather system, that big swell system when it arrives. Our expedition season gets designed year to year. Our team, Dr. Nicole Reynaud, is doing incredible work right now, already lining up expedition partners for next year and the year ahead. We work broadly across the scientific community and with partners like sanctuaries to line out expedition years. That also correlates with work that needs to happen on the ship. So this year when the season ends, there are several major projects on Nautilus itself happening this off season, and so we look at our expedition schedule and make sure that we allow time for projects like the control van overhaul and the engine replacement.
Giving it some atmosphere.
Moody.
Moody sand.
Moody.
I would like you to note it is in focus.
And the sand clears. Out comes the anatomy. Yeah, so Nautilus will have a very busy shore season this year. The ship itself will go down into the yard and a lot of things will happen.
Let's.
We have not released the 2020 season schedule yet, but it is probably going to be a June start time, something like that. Because they're really good. Yeah. Chad, can you talk with us a little about seasonality in the deep sea? People wonder if there are, sort of summer, winter fluxes
different
down here.
Different fish.
Cusk eel. Different fish.
Chordate.
Is big.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are absolutely seasons in the deep sea, not the 4 regular 3-month seasons we might experience here in California. Well, I think a lot of people on the East Coast wouldn't call them seasons, but relative to that. But this is kind of a boom and bust area in the deep sea. Not a whole lot of energy comes in on a constant basis, but when there's a massive amount of productivity at the surface, typically that's in the spring and summer. When there's upwelling, a lot of nutrients get transported to the surface and fuels an explosion of the food web. And everything from plankton to animals thrive off of that, and biodiversity is very high. Biomass is typically a little bit higher. Well, they excrete, they die, they slough off stuff, skin, scales, everything.
They poop.
They poop. And all that stuff eventually falls down. They kind of, assemble together, snowball in some cases, and they fall as marine snow. And that's the majority of the energy input that the deep sea gets. And so you see sea cucumbers scooping it up. You see filter feeders filtering it. And then, of course, occasionally you get some bonanza like a whale fall or some other marine mammal that will come down to the seafloor, and that will be grazed upon like a grand buffet in Vegas. But yeah, so you get these episodic pulses, these regular pulses based on the seasonality on the surface.
I like bonanza rather than episodic pulse. Dead whale bonanza. Thanks, Jed. Is there a chance to meet large animals like giant squid in this area? Certainly, there's always a chance to see big animals. There are large sharks, there are large fish, rays that utilize deep sea environments. Certainly large squid. Always a possibility to encounter them in the mid-water as well during what we call the blue water watches, so the ascents and descents down to the seafloor. We don't know what we find before we get there. If we knew, Dr. Bell says, if if you know, you wouldn't have to go. So just the opportunity, the time spent, the hours on the seafloor, eyeballs on the seafloor. It's one of the ways we measure our success internally within our team. We track ROV dives, and we track the amount of seafloor that we've been able to map with our multi-beam system year to year, but we also track just the number of hours we've spent on the seafloor, because that's really informative in a dive schedule. In this dive, for example, we're going to spend 3.5 hours descending, 3.5 hours ascending, but the time in between, the fact that we can stay down for another 24 hours or 30 hours just on the seafloor and staying down here, that's really one of our big measures of success.
Nope.
You're
Tether
doing
tug.
great, Paul.
Paul's super focused. He hasn't been listening to SPL
Or talking on it, yeah.
No, it's
Yeah.
all good.
Which makes me sound crazy when I say something on SPL in response to him.
You already do that with George, though.
Yeah.
It,
I was gonna say.
it's no different.
Randy,
guys
if
can
if
hear
think
George
that's
too?
what makes you sound crazy.
Yeah.
I really love these giant squat lobsters.
Yeah, they're big. They're big.
Yep, so now you're setting down. Perfect. A little bit more on your down with your stick. And then the zoom always zooms underneath the lasers, so that's...
Ooh, what's that?
Little jellies
Yeah.
pulsating.
Full zoom or full?
Just chilling there.
It's a big squat lobster.
You can see how
Those
Argus is
urchins?
going, even you know,
Yeah.
past you in that direction. That it's still got that forward. And your camera is a bit askew.
Yeah.
There you go. That'll help you drive.
It's funny, you know, like I know Rennie's seen and knows a lot.
But he's giving bad advice.
No, I was gonna say, but you know, like here when there's a new pilot in the seat and there's all these little tips and tricks that Rennie's throwing out at you, it's because he's watched enough pilots
It's because
that
I
he
care.
knows.
It's because I care.
Mm-hmm.
He's even serenading you.
Yeah. Just wait. If you're really lucky, you'll get a hand massage.
I've piloted for about a half an hour, so I have that experience under my belt too.
A professional.
They bring you all of this. Rennie,
Yes.
viewers interested in learning more about seafloor mapping, could you talk a little bit more about how you made the leap, how you got involved in this job?
For seafloor mapping, yeah.
We
well,
conscripted you. Start there. No.
I started in working with LiDAR, which is light detection and ranging. It's basically light through air using lasers versus sound through water. That's sonar. But it's similar in that it's time of flight of some sort of signal, yeah, like light or sound. Time of flight between that reaching something that it reflects off of, and then you either hearing that sound or seeing that light. So worked with LiDAR, and the end result, not only the principles similar, but the end result of
You
a
can see some of your
three-dimensional
dust
point
clouds,
cloud, an XYZ space, that's all kind of the same product on both ends. So I was familiar with working with that. So then I came in to work with multi-beam sonar, and then a lot of it has